crystallography. So today we are going to talk about X-ray crystallography, right? So any idea what is X-ray crystallography? What is its use? X-ray crystallography. When we say X-ray crystallography,
X-ray crystal is one of the technique that is used for studying the crystallized structure.
study crystallized structure. Next, so one use of the X-ray crystallography is to study the crystallized structure, right? So which crystallized structure can be studied in the X-ray crystallography?
Any protein, nucleic acid.
Protein, nucleic acid. For example, we are taking example of the protein. So for example, now we have solution. Okay, this is our solution. This is our, it contains protein, right? It contains proteins. So now how to determine its structure? What is requirement? Any possible flow? How to determine the structure? For example, this protein contains, for example, it contains one specific protein, lysozyme. Lysozyme. How to determine its structure?
On the basis of three-dimensional structure.
On the basis of the 3D structure. How to make three-dimensional structure of this protein? Three-dimensional structure.
So once we know the primary sequence of amino acid, then we can study the folding pattern of this polypeptide chain.
So this is a single amino acid, second amino acid, third amino acid, fourth amino acid. Now we are saying now it is folding like this, and it is making three-dimensional structure of the protein, right? But when we say X-ray crystallography is a study of crystallized structure of the protein. So what is first requirement? We have protein with us, right? We have the protein is made up of single. If you consider the chain of protein, so primary chain amino acid joined together is the primary structure of protein. Now we want to determine this structure. This is a three-dimensional structure of the protein. So how to determine its shape? Now we want to determine the shape, right? Whenever we say shape, what things we consider?
Interaction between molecules, carbon, nitrogen, like that.
It can be used for interaction of the molecule. But when we say this duster has some particular shape, we consider its dimension of molecule, like X, Y, Z. Like this is the one plane. If there is a Y, Z axis, then third plane. So when we say a box, it has a three-dimensional shape. this is a box cube. It has a three-dimensional shape. Likewise, when we spray the protein, it has a three-dimensional shape, right? So three-dimensional shape this protein has. Now, how to determine its structure? So first requirement, we have protein. Now what we do? We need to make it in the crystallized form. Okay. So we have protein with us. Now the second requirement is that we want to make it into the crystallized form. So how to make this protein into the crystallized form? So there are different techniques. So we have the protein. Protein is basically, if you are taking the water solution, you can find the protein is dissolved in the water, right? So we want to make it in the crystal form, means we have to dehydrate that protein, right? So there is a like hanging drop preparation. Hanging drop method for the crystal preparation. Okay. So basically we are taking the slides like this. It has a different section. Now we are putting the slide over here on this section. We are putting protein. Previously we are taking cover slip. We are putting protein here, and we are allow it to hang in inverted position, so that this this chemical, certain chemicals contained in this tubes, in this wells, it will dehydrate that protein, right? So now we will get single crystal. So single crystal we have got. So that is the crystal preparation method, right? Crystal preparation method we have. Now, how to analyze it? Why can't we see the crystal protein structure with the microscope?
To know the interaction of the
No. We have particular bacteria we have, right? Bacteria you can stain and you can observe under the microscope, right? So why can't we understand? Why can't we see the protein structure under the microscope? So we have, for example, this is, for example, bacteria, or particular solid, for example, any solid is there. This very small solid is there. We are observing it under the microscope. When we can observe it under the microscope, why can't we observe the protein under the microscope?
to see the internal structures, internal arrangement of the molecules.
So basically, molecule is made up of different structures, right? Internal structures are there. So different atoms are arranged. For example, when we say the crystal, it is arranged in a particular pattern. So why can't we see it? So when light is passing through this one, it gets diffracted to this particular microscope, and again we adjust the focal length such way that we get to see the enlargement with the eyes. But when we say the molecule crystal structure, it is like this. So this is a regularly spaced crystal structure. So these are the particular crystal structure, one any length of, but it has a regular arrangement. So this distance will be fixed between two different atoms, right? And when we consider these atoms, you cannot, you can only see with the visible light only the length in the range of visible light. Visible light has a wavelength. How much is the visible range?
Ranging from 400 to 700 nanometer.
Okay, so 400 to 700 nanometer. But this distance between this atom and this atom, it is far less than 400 to 700 nanometer. Okay, far less than the 400 to 700 nanometer. So we cannot visualize it with the help of the common light. So for that purpose, we need a special light. We call it as a X-ray. X-ray. So X-ray is used for this purpose. X-ray has a light in the range of 10 raised to minus 8 to 10 raised to minus 12 nanometer. So you can imagine 10 raised to, when we say 10 raised to minus 1, it is like 0.1. And if you are putting 10 raised to minus 8, that many zeros we have to give after the point, right? Around 7 0 and then 1. So that is a 10 raised to minus 8. So it is very less nanometer distance between the atoms it can determine, right? So this distance which we were detected, we were calling this distance, it is very less distance between here and here. So this distance can be determined with the help of the X-ray because it falls in that range. So this X-ray can be used for the analysis of the atom, right? Solid atomic structure. So during the X-ray we have wavelength. So now the X-ray basically is made up of wavelength. So this is our light. This is a crest, and this is a trough. And crest plus trough make up the one wavelength. Okay. So wavelength we denote as a lambda. Lambda is a crest plus trough. Okay. So when we say that we are using X-rays, this crest plus trough distance, this lambda distance is very less. Okay, it is very less. It is 10 raised to minus 8 to 10 raised to minus 12. So this wavelength of light we can utilize for determining the structure of the atomic structure of the molecule, right? So during the light, when we say crest and trough, so we have this one light. This is another light wave. So if these two waves are exactly aligned, so we say it as a aligned. If they are aligned, crest aligned with the crest. This is one light beam. This is the second light beam. Crest is aligning with crest. Trough is aligning with trough. So if you are passing the light through that like this, so it will be making the constructive interference. Okay, constructive interference means the amplitude, the distance between the baseline and this is the amplitude. Okay, so here you can observe and here you can observe this. So midline, if you are passing the line to midline of that wave, and you are measuring the distance from midline, it is amplitude of that wave. Okay, so here amplitude of the wave has increased. Okay, this amplitude of the wave has increased. So that is a constructive interference. Constructive interference means this wave amplitude is being increased. Okay, it has increased in the height. Okay, so this is a constructive interference. Next, for example, this is a first light wave. This is the first light wave, and instead of like this, we have pattern like this. So what is happening here? Every place it is a crest, and other wave it is a trough. So crest and trough, they are cancelling with each other, and now we are not getting any amplitude here. So amplitude, crest amplitude is getting cancelled with the trough amplitude. Now this is a destructive interference. Okay, destructive interference. Okay, so this is a destructive interference. So basically, the principle when we are saying X-ray, mainly we are talking about the light and how it interacts with the object. Okay, particular solid arrangement is there, solid structure arrangement is there. So this is our atom. So when we say protein, this is 1 atom, 2 atom, 3 atom, 4 atom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. How they are interacting with each other, right? Likewise. So how they are interacting with each other. So this interaction we are going to study. So it is forming the crystal lattice. Okay. So basically, if you are taking the this is a three-dimensional structure. Okay, so if you are taking this section of this crystal, that is we call that as a unit cell. Unit cell. If you zoom it in, it will look like this. This look like box shape. Okay, it has a dimension, so it will look like a box shape. So we call it as a unit cell. So it has a dimension. Now we want to determine how molecule is arranged so that we can know its dimension, right? So we will try to draw this nicely. So this structure is there, box-like structure. So single unit structure is there. So when molecule is arranged, single unit structure like is there. So we call it as a unit cell of the lattice structure, right? Lattice structure. Lattice. Okay, unit cell of the lattice. And now from this lattice, now we have this protein structure. With this protein structure we want to determine. Our mode is to determine this structure, and we have this lattice structure. Now we want to determine its three-dimensional structure. So how to determine the three-dimensional structure? So now we have learned about constructive interference, destructive interference. So we have talked a little bit about how this crystal can be formed. Okay. So now we have crystals, for example. So now we have this dish. In this dish we have crystal like this. Okay, we have crystal like this. So how to determine the shape of the crystal? How to select the crystals? So if you have crystal like this, you put a drop of oil here. Drop of oil you put here. Drop of oil you put here. Now all these structures it will come here together. Now we observe the crystal. It should not be too small. It should not be like 2-3 crystals are coming together and multiple crystals together. It should not be like this. It should not be cracked. So this is crystal, but it is a crack somewhere. It should not be there. The crystals we are selecting, it should have the regular shape and size. Okay. So this crystal we are going to select out of these crystals after crystallization. So we have done crystallization, and then the selection of the crystals we have to select like this. Okay. So this is a crystal selection process. Next we have crystal. Now this is our crystal. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is our crystal structure. So this is the internal structure. Okay, this is the internal structure. Now we are passing the light through this one. So we are passing light like this, and we are passing, so light passing through this point. Another light like this, it is passing through here, and now it is constructive interference. Means it is following the same pattern. Okay, they are following the same pattern. It means that you can see some constructive interference in the detector. Okay, so on the detector you can try to observe on this detector the constructive interference when they light two waves interact with each other. So at that position we can find this thing. So here if you pass the line like this, so this is a incident light. So the light is coming from this direction and scattering or bombarding on this point. So this is a constructive. This is a incident light. So this is a incident light, and this is a transmitted light. angle we call as a 2 theta. So this angle is a 2 theta angle. Okay. And now, so 2 theta angle is there. Next, from this 2 theta angle, we want to determine the wavelength. Means we want to, there is a one law, Bragg's law, in which sin theta is equal to lambda by half divided by d. So how this equation came? We have this is our Bragg's law. When we apply the sine function to this light interference, so we have Bragg's law, sin theta is equal to lambda by 2 divided by theta. It means that, for example, like this is there. This is angle theta. This is lambda by 2, and this is a d. D is basically the hypotenuse. So when we are taking this point like this, we can tilt this point and we can see this is a hypotenuse. Okay, you can treat it as a hypotenuse. So tan sin theta is equal to opposite side divided by hypotenuse. Okay, so this is the right angle triangle. So sin theta is equal to lambda by 2 divided by distance between two atoms. So we have sin theta is equal to lambda by 2 by d. And how this things came? So this, if you want to determine this lambda by 2, so we have equation like this. So we have this interference. So here, whenever this light is passing through this one, so whenever these points are there, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, whenever light is passing through like this, through this point, if light is passing through this point, then this distance, this distance is lambda by 2, and other distance at the diffracted position, it is lambda by 2. So based on this distance, half of the wavelength, we can determine how much wavelength difference as well. If you are calculating, if you are seeing at the other wavelength position, this will be like lambda at one position and lambda at the other position. Incident side it will be lambda, on the transmitted side it will be lambda. So how much light is diffracted we can determine from this equation. So basically in the microscope we are seeing the diffraction of the light is getting, visible light is getting diffracting, and then with the help of the lens we are allowing them to come together, right? So instead in X-ray diffraction we are seeing this interference pattern. So this is a wave, these are the wave, they are generating a higher amplitude wave. So this, if this wave is hitting at this point, then it is getting diffracted. Okay, so it is not going in a straight direction now, it is getting diffracted here. This wave is there, it is also hitting this one, it is also getting diffracted. But this wave pattern is matching, means trough is matching with the trough, crest is matching with the crest, because it is a regularly sized crystal. So we have to determine wavelength, constructive wavelength. So this constructive wavelength pattern we have to determine the photographic plate. So previously people used to see these things on the photographic plate. So light people used to pass through here. This is our crystal. Light will pass like this. Some will go through it, and this is a detector. On the detector you will get the dots. Okay, so this dot we have to determine based on this dot what is the structure of this atom. Okay, this is the structure of this crystal. So this crystal structure we have to determine. So what happened in the X-ray crystallography is that during the crystal structure determination based on Bragg's law, we can determine the diffraction angle, this theta and this thing. If you rearrange this thing, it will become like sin theta is equal to lambda by 2d and lambda by 2d and this 2d sin theta is equal to n lambda. So likewise it will become after rearranging. Okay, number of lambda is equal to 2d sin theta. So this equation is the Bragg's law. So this father and son, they got Nobel Prize for this their work, right? So X-ray crystallography work. So whenever we are determining the X-ray crystal structure, we are passing light like this. Light we are passing, then we are putting it on this rotating oniometer. Then here we have to keep the crystal cool. Otherwise, because of thermal motion, the atom will vibrate. So the diffraction pattern will not be proper. So here is a, for example, nitrogen gas tube is there which keep this crystal still. So here on the needle we are mounting our crystal. We are passing the X-rays here on this crystal. Okay, and we are getting this diffraction pattern. We are getting. So this diffraction pattern we are observing. So now what is happening? The sunlight will pass through it. So we have to block this light with this straight light blocker. So this light should not be allowed to pass. Straight light should not be allowed to pass. So we will block that one. So we will get the pattern like this. So X-ray diffraction pattern like this we will get. So there are different rings in the different area. We will get to know the diffraction pattern. But this pattern should not be like this. This pattern we are observing, something is wrong with this one. We have to observe this thing pattern with the fixed distances between them. Okay. So based on intensity of the light and the position of the light, we can determine in this protein structure where the different atoms are located. So this is used for the X-ray crystallography as a X-ray crystallography structure. So what happens is that based on this, previously we have seen that we are using the microscopic lens. Here we are getting pattern only like this. We cannot read this pattern directly visibly. So instead of that, we have mathematical calculation. So we have the knowledge of mathematics in which we will put this math into mathematical calculation and we will get electron density map. From this one we will get electron density map. So if this is our protein, some chain of proteins is there. So for example, these are different amino acid chain. So here we will get electron density, higher electron density here, higher electron density here, higher electron density. Based on this electron density map, we can interpret the model of this protein. Okay. So finally we will get the model of the protein like this. So whatever the protein model is there, we can obtain this protein model. Okay. So this protein model we can obtain. So basically these equipments, there is a special crystallography equipment which has to operate it via software. For example, some software like Chrysalis Pro software will come which will operate the equipment. So this X-ray crystallography equipment, mini lab equipment, for example, name of that equipment. So that equipment will be handled with the Chrysalis Pro. So it will generate the electron density map, and after generation of the electron density map, we have to put this map again on the for interpretation. So this is our data. So this is our data. We have to interpret this data. How to interpret this data? You have to put again it into the another software. So this Chrysalis Pro is there. This is Chrysalis Pro. This is one of the example. There will be many software, but this is Chrysalis Pro, which will be the obtaining Chrysalis Pro software. It will be operating Mini Lab 2. This X-ray crystallography equipment. So once we have put the crystal here, will you take the single image? You have to take you won't take single image, right? In a 1 second it can take the 30 images. This detector, it can take the 30 images, and then we have to rotate that crystal also, right? So different dimensions. So when you see me like this, I am not the perfect image. So you have to see by sideways, by back side. So likewise you can get the complete image picture. So this image taking will be done by Chrysalis Pro and the Mini Lab. Now this electron density map came. So what to do with this electron density map? We have seen that electron density map, it can give this can be analyzed by the OLX2 software. Okay, this has to analyze by the OLX2 software. So these are different softwares and this thing. So this is basically a very basic introduction to X-ray crystallography. So how X-ray crystallography work and how its three-dimensional structure is determined, right?